let's just get going then. Okay, what am I saying? So the Bitcoin ETF was approved today, January 11th. The question on everyone's mind was the ETF priced in? Is this sell the news type of event? Because this is what happened in the past. We had a ETF, a futures ETF that was passed in 2021. And after that, there was a sell-off. And so people are expecting like, maybe they should sell now. And I think we're seeing a sell-off a few hours after it was started trading. And my opinion is that it's absolutely not a sell the news type of event. If you look at previous times, we'd had a significant price increase in a very short amount of time. We have seen Bitcoin increase over 100% over the last 12 months, but it has been very gradual. Nothing has kind of gotten away from the average and the trend. So I think we still have 3, 4, even maybe 6 months left of price action that would go up. So this is definitely not a sell the news event. There's a lot more upside left for Bitcoin and cryptos in general. Vanguard and Merrill Lynch are the two reported now that are not allowing people to buy the Bitcoin ETFs in their accounts. It's funny because everyone's like, this is the Bitcoin ETFs approved by the SEC. Now let all the money roll in. And then there's this break where the financial advisors, wealth advisors are like, nope, it may be approved, but we're not going to let you do it. And they're just saying that they think it's too volatile. It hasn't proven itself yet. So I think there's going to be enough pushback by their clients that people are going to go elsewhere to get access to it, and eventually they're going to be forced to allow it. So this is a very short-term thing. I've seen some firms are requiring you to sign a waiver that said you understand the risks and the volatility. So this might be maybe 2 to 4 week, maybe a couple months, but that's a very short-term type of thing. Yeah, I've seen on crypto Twitter that there's an expectation that $40 billion of Bitcoin will be bought as part of these Bitcoin ETFs to fund these ETFs. And the math and calculations that they've done say that that could equate to a 40% increase. The question is that the timeline, is that going to be sooner than later? And I think we really could see a 40% increase in the next 3 months. Hester Pierce of the SEC came out with a statement after the ETF was approved yesterday, and he did not mince words. He was very aggressive that the SEC overstepped and that they did things wrong in terms of denying a Bitcoin ETF. And so it really showed that there's not a lot of agreement in the SEC, and that people are really upset with Gary Gensler, and even people within the SEC. And so for him to come out and say those things just shows that there's a lot of support for the Bitcoin ETF, and we should see institutional support moving forward as well. So the SEC Twitter account supposedly got hacked, announcing the ETF approval a day early. I do think they got hacked. They didn't have 2FA, two-factor authentication on it. It shows how comical the SEC is, and it's just losing a lot of credibility by letting that happen. There was a joke on Twitter that said, maybe the SEC needs to investigate the SEC, right? Like that's what they typically do in these type of things. So who knows? It's great to see that it eventually did get approved the next day. So I think all is forgiven for the most part. So now that the Bitcoin ETF has been approved, which I have been calling a January approval since middle to late last year, right? I remember, I think it was July or August, saying that I expected a January Bitcoin ETF approval. And I think that, as I've been saying, I think Bitcoin tops out around March or April, around 70 to 80,000, and then we could see a pretty significant pullback after that. But all eyes on a bull run for the next 2-3 months. What are the targets for Bitcoin this year? A lot of people, I feel like it's a mixed bag. Some people think the top is at 48, which we're really close, and we actually tapped that today. Other people are saying we should see 100, 120,000. And I'm going to go right in between, not because I'm just being middle of the road, but there are some legitimate reasons why I think we should see a target of 70, 80,000. And a lot of that has to do with timing. If we look at previous bull markets, the bull market lasted somewhere between 3 to 6 months, and that would take us to March or April. And so I think we have more of a run that would take us past 48,000, which we're at today. But I don't think we have enough time to get to over 100,000. So that takes me to about 80,000 for Bitcoin in March or April. So when will the institutions start buying these Bitcoin ETFs? I was just listening to a Twitter podcast this morning where someone said that when they instituted an ETF, it took 2 years for the ETF to kind of prove itself. And so I do think that it's going to take more time than people think to get institutional adoption. So I wouldn't expect anything materially to happen for 6 to 18 months. So I got on the phone yesterday with my friend who is a wealth financial advisor, and I asked him, so are you putting all of your clients into these Bitcoin ETFs? And his response was no. And he said that there's still no use case. There's been 15 years of Bitcoin history, and it really hasn't proven to be a use case, so he's not sold. I kind of asked him, what about what happened to gold when a gold ETF got approved? He didn't have a great answer. So it's a mixed bag. There's been reports that 40% of wealth advisors didn't think an ETF would get approved, but many of them said that they would. I think there is a lot of skepticism. And the main reason I bring this up is I don't think the Bitcoin ETF is priced in and that there's more room to go. Where is the mass majority of money going to come from that's going to roll into these Bitcoin ETFs? Well, you have to understand a traditional portfolio for institutions is 60% stocks, 40% bonds. Well, now you have Bitcoin, which is neither of those. And so the question is like, what is going to be the standard portfolio? And I've heard that people are going to start exploring a 0.5%, 1%, maybe even 2% by these institutions. And I'm talking about hedge funds, banks, 401ks. We've got endowments that are all looking that could potentially put Bitcoin as part of their portfolio. And the reason they're going to be convinced to do that is you have BlackRock, you have all of the people that are rolling out these ETFs saying that Bitcoin is the best performing asset of the last decade and that they should also institute that. So you have the guys like Larry Fink of BlackRock saying that this is the best performing asset. You're going to get people to listen, and the people that are going to listen are the ones that have all the money. It's the institutions. It just takes them longer to implement. So again, I'm saying 6 to 18 months is where we're going to see a lot of the big movements. Will financial advisors ever recommend Bitcoin for your personal portfolio? The answer is 100% yes, but they're going to do it at the wrong time. They're going to do it after they've been wrong and they've got too much pressure. And so you're not going to want to do it when they recommend it. You got to do it now.